Hi, this is Doc V. Welcome to Candid Conversations with Doc V, a collaboration with the unprecedented enterprise Win-Win Women, a global movement to reach, teach, and talk with women and girls around the world in 195 nations. As a woman heals, the earth heals. Our mission is to care, connect, and collaborate with 3.9 billion women worldwide so that all can enjoy a level of excellence in every area of their lives and be more joyful, fulfilled, and financially secure. We care by loving and inspiring all women. We connect as we teach and talk together. We collaborate to grow successful businesses. To that end, Candid Conversations is where real talk about real experiences and circumstances is the norm and not the exception, to help you heal, rebuild, and transform your life and or online business from the inside out and put you back in business and on the road to defining your path. As I said, I'm Doc V, the Pivot Maestro, and your corner woman, here to provide truth, transparency, and love in conversation to help you navigate the waters and think without a box. What is my why? You are my why and motivation to create a safe haven, to validate you and your experiences, and to provide hope and freedom in our thinking and being, so that you may live the life and lifestyle you were meant to lead. All are welcome to the conversation, especially those men who love, adore us, and support us, with our topics running the gamut and focused on issues women face every day in life, the workplace, career transition, and business. On Candid Conversations, it is our intention to always take you on a journey of revelation, reconciliation, and renaissance, having one mission in mind to help you define your path. And one message: you are mission essential. Yes, even as a woman, because you are always grace under pressure, and the world needs your voice. Folks, this week, we continue the conversation, Choose You, Define Your Path, with our remix being Find Your Willpower. Today, our guest on the Candid Conversations hot seat is Alica Trautwein. Let me tell you about Alica. Alica Trautwein is a certified life coach, an autism advocate, and the creator of The Mom Kind, an autism parenting website. There, she tackles the tough and important topics of autism while showing the love and compassion for family life. As a parent with 3 autistic children, Alica has direct experience in autism parenting and has over 15 years of experience working with families of autistic children, as well as helping autistic adults achieve their goals. Alica, you are a tremendous human being. Welcome to Candid Conversations.
Oh, thank you so very much for having me today.
Absolutely. We're going to have so much fun. You know, we have some guided questions, but we're just going to flow wherever spirit, the universe takes us. We're going to go there. So so last week, we discussed the power in thinking without a box and overcoming the fear of being anything but normal. Let's talk about a related thought. Find your willpower to find your strength. How has this played out in your life and your work in finding your soul purpose?
Yeah, so I mean, being a mom, that alone is a job that, we all are under pressure, no matter what our children's, abilities, what their needs are. And trying to balance that with, working outside the home or even working within the home, it's a struggle.
Mhm.
And so as we went along our life journey, discovering each of our kids' diagnosis and, finding my purpose of what I enjoy doing, because I've always enjoyed teaching. I've always enjoyed sharing information. Even as a young child, I remember doing that.
Mhm.
And so to have that chance these days to now be able to do that no matter where I'm at, and have that real life conversation of, hey, this is what parenting looks like for me, and making it normal for everyone. Because that's the thing, there is no normal. So what we all do is our normal. We just have to find our pace.
Yes, I love that. I love that, that there is no normal. You know, even though society, the world constructs try to put us into these boxes, you know, we all need to embrace the fact that there is no normal. We're all uniquely, divinely, beautifully made, and however we are, you know, and in whatever state of being that we find ourselves in. So there are so many limiting constructs in life and voices that tell us what we can and cannot do with regard to our gender, ethnicity, and perceived ability. How do you help those you serve overcome and embrace being anything but normal, by normal standards?
Yeah, so it's just that it's the fact that we always are telling our kids, strive to be excellent, go
Mhm.
above and beyond, be different. That's the encouragement thing. But yet society comes back and says, yeah, but don't be too different.
Mhm.
Don't, don't do this, don't do that. And it's realizing that if our goal is to achieve excellence, to be different, then we need to embrace that we are different, because each one of us has a life story. Even someone who has a story could be very close to identical to me,
Mhm.
they still experience it differently. They have their
Absolutely.
own perceptions of it. They have their own life story that, even though it's very similar, it could be very different. And it's important to just embrace that, because once you embrace that, like you said, there is no normal,
Mhm.
that you have to find what makes you happy and what gets you to where you want to be, then you're able to share that with others as well. And just it cycles out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it sounds like, by the messages, folks need to start at home, start with your children, and teaching that fact that there is no normal, that they are unlike anyone else, and helping them find that self-love early as a child. Well, I mean, as children, we already have self-love, right? And then we go out into the world, and then just all those pressures, that noise, the whole societal programming of this is what you should strive for, or, that piece that starts to just inundate, the mind, the body, just our very soul, our core. But if we start teaching from that young age and reinforcing that on a regular basis, that then can counter the constructs, don't you think? Or what do you
Oh,
think?
absolutely. And even further than that, we as adults, we weren't always taught that, as
Yes.
children. And
Mhm.
so it's not only teaching our children, it's teaching ourselves and reminding ourselves that,
Yes.
that we need to love ourselves and take away that negativity, because it's not just society coming from the outside, it's coming from within too.
Yes.
Because we all have these beliefs that we are brought up on, especially for as women in general, just that alone. You have this thing, well, you're not supposed to be able to do this. Oh, you're supposed to, be home. You're supposed to, you don't need to go run a business. You don't need to go do this. And then we start believing that because that's what we've heard. And sometimes it's even perception. It's what you see on TV and just characters played out. And so we have to remind ourselves first, even that, that self love, that it's okay to be different, that we want to be different. If that's always been the goal, is to be different, then embrace it. You know, Remember that you need to love yourself and take care of yourself. Remind yourself that, hey, that negative thought's going to come, but when it comes, recognize it and let it go away. And reminding ourselves that, we're important, we're worthy of, our yeses in life. And starting there, then we can expand that out in our homes, like you said, to our children, teaching them, reminding them that, hey, yes, you heard that, yes, that was said to you, but you are enough, you are worthy
Yes.
of, respect and love. And it's a constant conversation. It's not going to go away just because you have that conversation once, or something you talk to them when they're little about, and it just magically goes through. No, it's a daily conversation, and especially every day that, whether it's your children or you going out into this world, every time you interact with anyone in the world, you're going to have to go back and remind yourself of who you are.
Yes, no, that's so good. I mean, there were so many nuggets in there that I hope the audience caught. So let's talk about also just our struggle with perfection. We always strive for, I love what I think you said at the top of the conversation, or perhaps in our pre-conversation, about how you always advocate and encourage like your own children, to strive for excellence. We tend to lose that as a society because of this whole competitive dynamic that is inherent to our society, our constructs, et cetera. And so we're always, well, a lot of us, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, let me admit that right now, we get on this path, right, that we're trying to compensate for something, some lack, some kind of pain point or trauma in our life, where we're trying to do everything perfectly, to mask that or to cover it up, or, to draw the light away from it. So, what do you say to just that whole piece? And do you find that with, I guess this is what I'm trying to get to, do you find that in maybe some of the clients that you work with? Because as parents, of course, you want your children to, to be normal, to fit in, or what have you, because, the world can be a cruel place and there's a struggle. So let's talk about that a little bit, on how you communicate with your clients, with the parents in particular, to just deal with that. How do you prepare them?
Yeah, and so you kind of hit the word right on the money there. It's masking. And
Mm.
for autistic individuals, whether they're a child or adult, this also goes for many other neurotypes, like having ADHD, anxiety, stuff like that, that we put on a mask. It is literally called masking, because we have this perception of what we believe society has said. This is how you're supposed to act. This is how you're supposed to talk. And we, especially as autistic individuals, you have this mask that you don't realize you're creating sometimes. And it's how you act when you're around others. And while at some levels, it can kind of help make you fit in, but the cost of doing so is so great, because it not only just takes away of you knowing who you are, it's exhausting. It is extremely overwhelming that, and that's something as a child, you learn just because that's what we're said. Oh, well, this is the roles in class, and this is, how our social group acts in this, this setting. And you create this, and especially girls in general, whether, autistic or not, girls in general, it's a society that you hit those teenage years, that middle school into high school, and all girls just want to be this exact one character in a sense, and we all pretend to be something that we're not, and then we lose ourselves. And so it's really remembering and getting back to understanding, okay, who are you as an individual? What do you think of these things? How, breaking down every little bit of it sometimes, and just remembering to look for those signs too, because, especially when I see with my middle school, high school, clients, even, that they're so exhausted and they don't know why. Because, well, of course they're exhausted, especially talk about teenagers. They're already going through so much. They're going 40 hours a week at school. And then, when we were kids, when you left school, you were done. I mean, you could pick up a phone and call somebody, but for the most part, you were done. So any issue that happened at school stayed at school until the next time you came. Well, now everybody's constantly connected to social media. And so it's 24/7. There's no disconnect. So everyone's having to be in this role that they've created, that they've masked of themselves, all the time. There's no break from it.
Oh, that is a poignant point, Alicia. And I hadn't really processed that. Of course, I know it, right? But we're constantly social media has created a whole new set of problems besides, just the horrific online bullying, of folks who are, just insecure in themselves or what have you, and then lashing out to compensate for whatever else, what they're going through. But literally it has become a 24/7 thing. Even I imagine, when children are coming to the table, or when they're at home and they're interfacing with their parents or their siblings or what have you, they still have that mask on until they go into their room in their own private space.
Yeah, until they disconnect, and that's the thing. Like you said,
Yeah.
the kitchen table. I mean, we have a rule around here that even as adults, we don't have phones at the table. Now we often forget because we'll be in a hurry and we'll have a phone and we'll want to look at it because you hear that alert and it's that fear of missing out or fear of being late to something, and you're like, oh, I got to check it. And you have to remind yourself, no, we got to unplug. And it's been a journey because raising kids in a time of social media, like especially with our oldest, we've made mistakes when it comes to social media and how to deal with that, whether that's from the end of how soon they get on it to also what do you do when they become addicted to it, and trying to balance it because there was no rule book. This has really been this, current generation. It's been the first generation to really be in social media their entire lives.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're still learning as adults. So it's like, oh, how do I teach my kid not to do this incorrectly when we're still learning how to disconnect and remind ourselves, no, we need to unplug. It's okay if we don't answer that text right away, things like that. And it's a lot to handle for anyone, no matter what age we are. And especially if you're balancing a business on top of that.
Right.
I mean, that alone, because then you're like, well, what if it's a client? What if it's, some brand reaching out, and you have all these different factors that you have going on. And, I've had to have times where I've had to disconnect and say, no, I'm not working these days. And I am my computer stays off until I turn it on for my work hours.
Yes.
Things like that, because otherwise we get so overloaded and like you said, we're masking it and we just don't realize it until we're so burnt out that we're at that, the bottom of the pit thing when you can't really notice that you're falling until you get to the bottom. You're like, oh no, I gotta crawl back out of this.
Right. So now I'm hearing two things here. I'm hearing just one, our willingness to face and embrace our fears, to make them our ally, to overcome them, to overcome that fear. And two, helping people understand that power lies in choice, in choosing you and activating that willpower to say, okay, I am going to turn off the phone. I am going to turn off the computer. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, to actually activate and find that strength. Yeah.
And it's a hard balance. We're all learning as we go, but some things become so easy. We don't realize how things pile up, how often we're on the phone, how often we're stuck inside because we've been on the computers because we work from home now. It's more acceptable to have these, completely online presence when you're, with no one around even. And you have to really make those rules for yourself. It's, having those routines in place. That's the biggest, piece of advice I always give, whether you're talking about, just any business owner or a parent or a child or an autistic child. It doesn't matter, that all of us thrive off of routine and structure. Now, routine doesn't mean that you have to have every single minute planned out, but having set amounts of times to do things that during this time, you disconnect, during this time, you focus solely on work, and you have these different parts of your life that that I'm making a stand to say, this is when I switch over to this.
I struggle with that. It was funny. My honey and I just had a conversation about that very thing. Of course, my executive assistant, she has my calendar laid out. It's color coded. It's keywords where it's clear what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's just, shutting down or switching gears. It's such a hard thing, to do, even in business, let alone life. Because something is always popping up. It's those little, I don't know if you've heard the reference or the analogy to the gnats buzzing around, constantly, gnats buzzing and you're swatting and, if we actually just learn how to follow that flow, choose to do what's positive, what's best for us, what is, embracing and activating that self-love and choosing to follow that path, therein lies the strength in choice. So, this is not just, it's not just, a message for the young. Like you said, you made such an important and powerful point that we've been conditioned and trained, you know, and in our generation, you know, we didn't think like this. These conversations were not happening. And so we're fighting through, you know, all of that conditioning to find ourselves while trying to also be those thought leaders and those change agents for others, for the world. So how do we change the culture?
You know, the biggest thing is starting to speak up and see what, you know, say what you see. You know, it's one of those things where we don't share the honest truth of what our life story is. We
Oh my
share
goodness.
the
Yes.
bits and pieces, right? The pieces
Mhm.
that we want people to see. You know, back in the day, it was always about having your Instagram feed perfect, you know, things like that. And it was perfectly presented picture. And, you know, the big change, I think, is just really sharing those moments where you're on a recording and it doesn't look right. You know, the
Yeah.
whole, when, you know, the whole pandemic started, and you had the news, you got on the news that, you know, baby crawled, kid came in on the bouncer, mom crawling behind him and pulling the baby out. But that was like our first real life, you know, hey, it's not all, you know, perfectly edited and all this stuff. That's real life. That's what would happen to me if I did that, you know, and
Right.
sharing those true moments and not, you know, not necessarily dwelling on the negative, but just being honest and just saying, hey, yes, my picture looks great, but you know what? 5 minutes before and 10 minutes after that, my house is a disaster. You know, one time I did a video and, you know, it was a live thing. And afterwards I said, because somebody said something about, oh, my background looks so beautiful. I said, let me show you something. And I flipped the camera around. Yes, my background, where I was sitting with that camera face, perfect. Everything around it, it was a disaster. I had boxes stacked up and paperwork everywhere because I was just one of those busy weeks and everything kept piling up. And it's like what you see isn't reality. And so when we start sharing that reality, we start changing that narrative. Like, hey, it's okay to focus on yourself. And you know what? As a mom, especially, you know, hey, you know, it's okay that your house is a disaster. You're living in it. You
Yes.
know, we're in our homes so much more than, especially with our kids at the same time, than previous generations. So the house isn't going to be perfect. You're not
Right.
going to be able to go through the white glove and get it dust free. I mean, I don't think there's anything, a white piece of garment in my house that doesn't have a stain on it. You know? And so it's changing that, you know, and remembering, like, so just telling, like, hey, I notice you're struggling. Is there anything, you know, I can help you out with? You know, you see a friend struggling, say, hey, I know you won't let me do much to help you, but can I come run a little laundry for you?
Yeah.
You know, can I come sit with your kids while you go take a shower? I mean, something like that. You know, sometimes those little things that we won't ask for, sometimes we have to remind our friends too, friends and family, like, hey, I see you're struggling. Let me help you in this way.
You know, oh my gosh, that gave me cold chills because it's so true. You know, we're afraid to share our story, to own our story, to look a certain way, you know, to be truthful, transparent, you know, and allow others to love on us. We don't give ourselves space for grace, you know,
Yeah, we
because
don't.
yeah, you know, it's like this constant just grind and pressure on ourselves. You know, and then when children are in the home, of course, they process that, they receive that. So, you know, in our last few minutes, I'd like to have a conversation about just, you know, any special dynamics or thoughts or guidance you would like to share on, particularly you being an expert specialist on autism. What would you say, or as far as just the culture and how we embrace the difference with that population? You know, because we all have something going on with us. It may not be an obvious challenge that we have, but just with the whole thought of embracing each other and not putting the pressure of normal on, you know, our neighbor. You know, what is that? Just seeing them for who they are, and loving on them anyway.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I think education is key and it starts within the home. You know, we have a kind of a cool dynamic in our home is that, you know, there's not a single one of us without some sort of diagnosis, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so we have this dynamic, like, Like for us, we have running jokes. Like we know that we're not the norm, but we embrace it. We encourage it. You know, we laugh about certain things, and you know, it's okay to laugh about something sometimes. And
Yes.
but it's education, because then just as easily as I can spot something, you know, my kids are very quick. They might not know what someone's diagnosis or individual struggle is, but they can see when someone is struggling with something.
Yes.
They can see and know, hey, I might not always be able to solve the situation, but I can just be a friend. I can just be there. I can just, you know, talk to them like they're anybody else, because that's the reality. Is just we're all people. You know, it's not, at the end of the day, we're all one, you know, the same thing. We're all human beings. We all walk this earth. We all breathe. We all need eat, sleep, and love. You know, it's
Right.
something we all need. And so learning at home that, you know, just to embrace each other. And I think the big thing too is conversation. We forget about having conversations with our kids. And
Yeah.
sometimes those conversations are tough. I mean, believe me, my kids have thrown some crazy conversations my way. But you know, it's having those conversations and getting deep with your kids, because when they see and hear you as a parent doing something, and they see you embracing it, then that's what they're going to do. You know, being discriminating, you know, having hatred towards people, that's learned at home.
Yes.
You know, and so to make that, and it doesn't mean that it's always on purpose. Sometimes it's just the way it's, you know, inherited generationally. But you know, my father's blind, and so I learned very, very early on what discrimination was, even on that. And so my dad was very big, like, this is not allowed. You do not discriminate against anybody. You do not judge somebody by anything other than their heart, period.
Yes.
And I would have gotten in trouble if I was caught bullying somebody. Granted, I had the other opposite end of that, but still, you know, but making that conversation to say, hey, this is what we expect from the people in our home, but living that example and making that change, because when you make the active change, those around you are going to notice.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You know what? And I have nothing else to say after that. That was a perfect end to our episode today, our wrap on, you know, choosing you, define your path, you know, finding that willpower. Thank you so much, Alicia, for being my guest on the Candid Conversations hot seat today.
Absolutely.
Audience, I hope you have enjoyed Real Talk with Alicia Trautwein. Be sure to follow her, find her online. Alicia, tell the audience how they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is themomkind.com, and on most social media, it's at themomkind. And then on TikTok now, it's alicia.trautwein. So, but just type in that autism advocate and it pops right up.
Okay. Awesome. And again, you know, you are truly an angel. Blessing, you know, my mother is a retired teacher. She works special education and just in that field for 43 years. And, you know, I always say you guys, of course, have a place in heaven. You know, so we just thank you for your work, what you do, how you live, living out loud, unapologetically. So thank you so much. Audience, be sure to go back and watch this episode. If you missed anything, pick up all those nuggets that Alicia was dropping and tell a friend about the life-changing conversations we are having here on Candid Conversations. Your call to action: answer these questions with truth, transparency, love, and space for grace for yourself. Are you operating from a place of strength? Have you activated your willpower to find your strength? Or are you allowing someone else, the norm, to control and author your story? Think on it and the revelations you've received today, and begin to reconcile them with the path you're on, so that you may be able to move into your renaissance, your rediscovery, your rebirth. If you're ready to pivot, to heal, rebuild, transform your life and online business from the inside out, check definingpaths.online. Get connected with us. We want to talk to you about true vision and help you define your path. And we invite you to visit all of the pages there. We are a one-stop shop, and we're always here for you. We welcome people into our family because we're a family who cares. And we are all about holistic transformation and helping you be your own boss in mind, body, soul, and business. If you've already started your own business, you need us to help plug those holes, we're here for that too. And if you're simply here for personal development and growth, we applaud you. Come back, keep coming back, and stay on that path. Get connected and stay in community. Be sure to follow us on social media and check out our new podcast, Define Your Path, on every syndication, Amazon Music, Pandora, etc. Stay plugged in. Join us next week as we continue to remix the topic, Choose You, Define Your Path. Next week is all about rediscovering the true you. So until then, what's our mantra, ladies? Strong is the new sexy. Be strong in mind, body, soul, and business. Define your path and love the skin you're in. I'm Doc V, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. I am my sister's keeper. I will see you next week.